Hi, I'm Dr. Stefana Pecher, the country doc, coming to you here from beautiful North Stonington, Connecticut. Anessa Haney has asked me to discuss the use of medical marijuana in medicine. We've been here for about 10 years now, servicing patients of both southeastern Connecticut and southwestern Rhode Island. I'm a family doctor, and I also have a wellness center located on the first floor of the same building. We have a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, a medical masseuse, and a holistic nurse, and we like to combine traditional medicine with a holistic roof. So Anessa has asked me some questions that she thinks the general public would be interested in. So I guess starting off the bat, how did I get into this? How did I first get introduced to medical marijuana as a therapy for patients? About 2 years ago, I had a patient that was extremely ill. She was in her 60s. She was diagnosed with lymphoma. She had fibromyalgia and a whole host of medical conditions. She was on about 18 medications and was on chronic narcotics for her pain. Now, in our practice here, we've never really believed in chronic narcotic use except for certain specific types of patients. We usually refer those kind of patients out to pain management. So opiates are not something that we have generally ever prescribed in this office. Nonetheless, this lady was on opiates and she was on a horse's dose that I declined to give her. So she went and sought out a prescription from another physician who gave her a large dose of opiates, and she accidentally overdosed and luckily for her was resuscitated at L&M by Dr. Duhigg, and she made it. Afterwards, she came back to me and apologized. I don't judge anyone. She was just trying to control her pain. But she asked me for a medical marijuana card. And at the time, I knew nothing about it. I'm a busy doctor. I have busy practice. I don't have a lot of time on my hands. And I said, you know, I don't know anything about this, but I'll find out who prescribes it and you can go there for your card. So she went and saw a doctor in Rhode Island, got her card, and over the course of 2 years did so well. She came off of almost all of her medications. She was, I think, only on 3 meds. She actually went back to work and came off of disability. And every time I saw her in the office, she asked me, you know, Dr. Pecher, you really need to look into this. It's not what you think. It's not a recreational drug. It's really helped me. I'm a functional human being again. So after 2 years of nagging, I finally listened. I closed my office early. I took my team of PAs and we went up to the Compassion Center, the Slater Compassion Center in Providence, Rhode Island. And we spent about 4 hours there learning about how medical marijuana actually helps patients. And to my great surprise, I realized that this is actually a science unto itself, and that a lot more needs to be learned. So we slowly began prescribing not the medication, but just the cards to patients with conditions that are applicable both in Connecticut and Rhode Island, because I'm licensed in both states. And being right here on the border, we have a mixture, a 50-50 mix of Rhode Island residents and Connecticut residents. And what we started to see was this tremendous trend of patients not only on their own coming off of chronic narcotics that they'd been on, but also multiple other medications. It became such a strong force that we actually put together a poster that we presented at Harvard in April, outlining 50 patients, just about 50 patients, and how most of them were able to reduce their medications down to just a couple. So there's something very worthwhile here, and it needs to be looked into. It's not for everyone. Not everyone does well on this, and there's a lot of unknowns, and it needs to be studied further. But it definitely has improved the lives of many. So many times patients are confused about whether or not they have a condition that actually is accepted in Connecticut or Rhode Island. So the process here in our office is that we ask that the patients give us a call and speak with the front desk staff. There is a whole list of conditions. I have it here and we're going to post it for you as well. Every state is different. So Connecticut has its own list of conditions and Rhode Island has its own list of conditions. And these conditions are being constantly updated and added to. But right now, for example, I'll just list a couple here. For Connecticut, cancer, obviously, glaucoma, post-traumatic stress disorder, Parkinson's disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, MS, wasting syndrome, sickle cell disease, post-laminectomy syndrome with chronic radiculopathy, on and on. You can look this up. So basically, we ask the patients, do you have one of these following conditions? And if you do, please have the doctor who diagnosed you with it send us over, they can fax it or email it, a copy of the diagnosis, whether it's in a note or written on a script pad. And with that, we then schedule an appointment for the patient, we spend time with them, and we go over everything. One of the unique things in this office is that we actually offer educational classes for free for the patients. I don't believe this is being done anywhere else. Currently, our teacher of these classes is Lisa Silvercrow Perot, a member of the Mohegan tribe, who's very knowledgeable. And we hold these classes once a month. It's the last Wednesday of every month, and it's free. It's open to whoever wants to come. And we have a long discussion, about 2 hours, where there's questions and answers answered, but also a lot of very important information on the topic. So back to the appointment. During the appointment for the Connecticut application, there is a state website where we actually register the patient, and then the patient has to upload a driver's license, a photo, and some additional information. One easier way to handle it for patients is to go to the Uncasville dispensary, that's the one closest to us, where they will actually facilitate this process for patients that don't have a computer or are not computer savvy. After that happens, they usually get a temporary license emailed in about 2 weeks, and with that, you can go to the dispensary to purchase the medication. The real license, the hard copy, comes in about a month from the time of submitting the paperwork to the government. In Rhode Island, it's a paper application. It gets mailed in, and from my understanding now, the current time is about 6 weeks of processing. So a lot of patients have questions regarding how much medical marijuana can they have in their possession, and it's really state dependent. So in Connecticut, I believe it's about 2.5 ounces per month supply. In Rhode Island, it's different. In Connecticut, you cannot grow your own plants. That is not legal. You have to get your medication from a dispensary. The dispensaries are supplied by growers, and there's a limited number of growers in Connecticut. In Rhode Island, it's different again. There are people named caregivers, and they are allowed to have up to a certain number of plants that they grow for their patients. Again, this is changing constantly. Again, the laws were revamped just a few weeks ago. So the best bet is always to look on the state's website and find out what is mandated at the given time that you're looking into it. So in conclusion, I hope that this has answered some of your questions and some of Vanessa's questions as well. I really feel that people need to have an open mind and regard this as a medication. Medical marijuana is truly another medication. Despite all of the misconceptions that are out there, there are certain patients that are doing unbelievably well and are having wonderful outcomes. So I encourage you, please check out your state's government website for exact details and laws. And also feel free to attend our class. That's August 31st. That's the last Wednesday of the month, where we're going to have a deep overview, and you can have any questions answered that you may have. Feel free to bring a friend or perhaps even recommend this to somebody that you know. Thank you. Well, all right, my dear, let me walk you through this. So this is the government website, and as you can see, I'm logged in as the doctor. I'm going to enter you as a new patient, add a new patient, you can see. And then here we fill in your last name, first name, middle initial, address, and the condition that I'm certifying you for.
Now, I believe I have a spinal injury. I believe it's a retractable spasticity.
Yes, it's actually damage to the nervous tissue of the spinal cord with objective neurological indication of intractable spasticity. It's quite a mouthful.
Why is intractable spasticity specifically?
I'm not really sure why that's part of it, but I think almost anybody that has a back injury has some component of spasticity.
I definitely do. I just don't know what the intractable part means.
It just, intractable means that it doesn't go away.
All right.
That's all.
Okay.
So I'm quite certain that that's, we have your documentation and that's what's on there. So, and then are you under my care? Yes. What I like to do is have my patients who I, give this card to come back in 6 months for a free visit, just so that I can see how you're doing and check up on you and just sort of get a little more information about what's helping you and what isn't.
Sounds good.
Do you think that you need a primary caregiver? That means somebody to go and obtain your medication for you?
I don't, depending on the situation, it's possible, but
it's better if you answer if you feel you'll need somebody. You can always go back and change it, but it's a little more complicated.
So it's probably better to say yes.
Probably better to say yes.
I mean, I do have caregivers. I just don't know if I would actually need them to pick it up, but you never know.
You never know. There might be some time when you're not feeling well. Okay, and then you're not to possess more than 2.5 ounces per month. Okay. So now I've submitted this, and you should get a confirmatory email. You could have it in your phone right now, actually. It's that quick. And with that email, you will call the dispensary in Uncasville. I'm guessing that's the closest one to you. And make an appointment and have them help you upload everything and pay the government fee.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.